As I said, I will be here with my idol, my hero. I'm sure he's pretty used to actually hearing all these words before, but I've got the one and only Shah Rukh Khan in the house. How are you today?
Thank you, Asad. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Of course, it's a pleasure. First of all, welcome to London. I mean, obviously, I would say it's your second home because you have a home here. How does it feel every time that you come back to London?
I don't come very often unless I'm working, but yeah, last year I was here for Ravan.
Okay.
And then I do try to drop in during the summer holidays when the children have holidays in June. But we kind of start off from here, then take the kids to different various Disneys, wherever they are, in Paris, yeah. So shooting for Yash Chopra and his whole family's here, my family's here. So it's been fun. Now, last 4 or 5 days, yeah. So now I'm feeling sad because my family just went back yesterday. But yeah, it's been a great shoot.
And the power of media these days, what's your thoughts on that? How much power does like a Twitter and Facebook hold these days?
I think the word power is wrong to use for something which is not right.
Sure. No, I'm just saying, but the rumor was spread, so...
I don't think so. See, I have a huge take on where it is headed right now.
Sure.
How things happen. As a matter of fact, I'll be very honest, I've gone quieter because of that. You know, there was a time when I could openly come down out in the press and talk or chat.
Sure.
I started writing things on Twitter, but what's become of it is that you write something and even that becomes news and again taken on as what you didn't mean it to.
Absolutely.
So you become a little, I think this is, I have a different take, you know. I think social media finally will make us a little more unsocial.
Sure.
It'll curb us from expressing ourselves. You know, people feel it's a free platform where you can say what you want.
Sure.
Yes, you can say what you want as long as you don't mean it.
Sure.
But when you start saying something meaningful and somebody takes it and says it in the wrong meaning, then you start getting very aware of it. You say, okay, let's just fool around.
Sure.
Let's not be serious about stuff. So I think there is a big danger of that. And also I feel, you know, it sort of makes us, see, I was already an insomniac. It also makes you an infomaniac now.
Sure.
And it's
being worried what's being said while you're
sleeping. So much is being said. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I just said it in an interview back home that I'm quite shocked at times now where people read into what one says and, you know, there's no, and I think it's very stupid. I try to clarify my statement on a platform where I actually wrote it just out of feeling warm. So not to all the people who love me and, you know, write really sweet messages to me. Some of them also claim that I'm too intellectual on the Twitter, but that's the way I am. But yeah, it's something that will make people a little more wary as the time goes by, and we need to be a little careful about it. Yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right, because I mean these days, friends of mine who actually send me a message on BBM and you don't reply, but you do a Twitter. So they're like, "Acha, Twitter bahut zyada hai, zaruri hai, you know, we are not." So I think it's.
I was the same thing happened to me, and I was supposed to get in touch with some friend here, and I just said, you know, I'm really sorry. And it really is true. I was busy. I was shooting nights, so I didn't read the message. By the time it got morning, it was late there. So I said, okay, I'll talk. 3 days went by and I didn't reply, and when I finally called, he just turned around and he says, you know what, dude, you're on the Twitter and you're writing there, but you can't write a message back to me. So I'm like, I'm really sorry. I mean, I don't tweet so much. I tweet once a day. But I'm like, you know, I'm really sorry. And it's also, especially for a person who's like me, who's a little reclusive and doesn't, and likes to be on his own at times. I sometimes feel that my, you know, with messages and everything, it just makes you available everywhere, and even you don't even know that. You know, so it's a little bit, yeah, it's a bit of a strange feeling for a person who's a celebrity.
Sure.
You know, that just you're accessed suddenly by everyone. Yeah.
Do you think just generally people's ethics have changed? Like these days, if I'm running late, I just BBM people or WhatsApp or just send a message saying, were people more like punctual in those days when you started your career than today, or how do you see it from your point of view?
My biggest issue with so much visual information, whether it's through messaging or internet or, you know, what have you, you can send pictures. I think the biggest problem with visual information of this level is that we are actually losing touch with imagination. If I'm running late for a meeting, I never send anyone a message. My logic is, and as pompous as it sounds, is time starts when I reach somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that's how I lead my life. It's very difficult otherwise I do so many things. And I make sure everybody's work gets over. I don't hurry anyone up. But I don't send messages. So I don't know if people become more punctual or not. But people now know my whereabouts a little more, so if I can lie that, you know what, I'm halfway through to the studio because somebody sent a message to my driver or my security guy and they know he hasn't left home yet. Yeah, so you get caught.
So there you go. Again,
So
that whole availability is there
Yeah, it
now
is
these days. Now, a friend of mine, female from Canada, she said, you have to ask Shah Rukh Khan, what's his thoughts on young people these days, you know, getting married and stuff, you know, who are having like live-in and, you know, the new era of modern relationships.
See, I'm a big believer of whatever makes you happy. I'm not judgmental.
Sure.
I don't have, you know, I'm no one to be a moral police.
Sure.
I lead my life in a certain way. And that is also questionable by many.
Sure.
And just because it is questionable does not mean it is not right or wrong for me.
Sure, of course.
So I have no issues people having a live-in relationship, just a relationship, getting married if they wish to. I just feel, you know, that if you are going into a commitment and have babies,
Sure.
it's a different ballgame for the upbringing of the children.
Sure.
And you gotta be steadfast in that.
Sure.
To a certain extent,
Sure.
and have a little respectability in that, have a little honor in that.
Sure.
And it's not more honorable to be married or unmarried or have a live-in relationship. I think everybody's cool, everybody should be happy, and I would tell youngsters, I would tell my kids, see, I have a son and daughter, and now I gauge any question about youth from their point of view.
Yeah.
And the other day I was talking to a couple of my actresses, and I was saying, you know, when I talk to you, I talk to you as I'm talking to my daughter now, because if I'm giving you an advice,
Sure.
I would say the same thing to my daughter. So it's as pertinent or as emotional for me.
Sure.
And I would say this to my children, that listen, you fall in love, like people, be with them, whatever works for you, as long as you're not going to hurt anyone, you know, in that relationship.
Sure. Now, two very quick questions before we wrap up. First one, what do we have lined up for this coming year or the next year, as in films?
I just have, I'm shooting Mr. Yash Chopra's film just now, which is untitled as yet. We haven't got a title yet, so I think we finished 40% of it now.
Sure.
Another 50% to go in the next 3 months. And post that, I have about 4 or 5 scripts that I've been working on. And I don't know which one will start first or when or if at all.
Sure.
But yeah, there are 2, 3 very interesting ideas that we have. I'm setting up my office all anew with a new production team and everything. So I just want to sit down, take 2 months off, which is now. Actually, after I finish the schedule, I'm not shooting for a month, and IPL will start. So I'll spend some time, you know, setting up those movies. So at this point, nothing concrete, because I'll have to cast them, I'll have to, you know, do the production. And I want to make some films in my production, 4 or 5 of them, and hopefully they'll cast me in those films also.
I'm sure they will. And lastly question, what's your advice to young filmmakers and actors in the world? I just want to know, what's your thoughts on what's the best step to go forward? Because the market's become so wide, but at the same time, it's really, really scary, especially when it comes to like distribution.
See, I'm as successful as I seem to be in business, I don't really have a business head.
Sure.
So I always think of things that, see, if you plan things out in terms of business and how it should be, the best of business plans may not work out, because cinema or art or poems or singing is always going to be measured on the anvil of how people react to this subjectively. Sure. Right? So I can have a great business plan for a film. I have a great set of people. I have you know, Kareem helping me, and Karuna and Priya and a lot of other wonderful people, Shailja, who know how to market a film, who know how to take it forward, keep it gentle, keep it nice, true to the form. But you know, that really is not going to stick, because the film or the story or the moment has to be loved. So I would just tell young directors and actors, you know what, I know it's a difficult world, I know it's a dog-eat-dog world, but what you got to stick to finally is to make the films that you want to. I'll give you an example. I haven't seen the film, Sujoy,
Sure.
who just made a film called Kahani. What I want to say is that he's a good filmmaker, and he must have had some ups and downs.
Sure.
But he's stuck to his guns of wanting to make the film that he wants to. And I think finally that's what will count. What you want to do, what you feel like saying is what's going to count. And of course, it's a commercial world. It'll have all the commercial trappings. You'll have your songs and your dances. You'll market it. You'll have bigger posters. You'll have better images. You'll have everything. But finally, you've got to make a film that your heart says you should make. What happens is people are so afraid of making things that don't sell, that they end up selling their integrity and their creativity instead. And I think when there's a choice between making a thing which doesn't sell or selling your creativity, I think you go for the one closer to heart.
And yours was the one that you thought?
Yeah, I never make a film In all my career, I've never done a film. I've done 70 films. There's one maybe which was more business-like, but also had an emotional reason of friendship. But I've never made a film which I didn't want to make, personally. I've never made a film for any other reason. And I've delayed films. People get angry with me sometimes. Why are you taking so long? I say, I don't feel like doing it just now. And it's not that your film is not good. The heart is saying, wait a little more.
Sure.
Even with SG and all, who's like my family. You know, SG, 4 months more now. Please let me feel like a lover again. Right now I'm feeling Dawn. Yeah. You know, right now I'm feeling Ravan. So yaar, kya baat hai? Tu actor aise nahi. I want to feel like a lover. Let me be like that. And, you know, my filmmaker friends are kind, and they do that. And I think I would suggest this to all the youngsters, with all the trappings. And I'm working with a lot of youngsters right now, young girls. And they all, when I speak to them, I realize what you're asking. That, you know, you need to be aware. You need to, well-informed, well-armed. And you need to figure out business. I think the bottom line is always going to be, if your heart tells you to do it, you want to be an actor, go ahead and act. You want to be a director, go ahead and direct. Don't do the business of acting, and don't do the business of direction.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being on the show. Any last special message for your fans out there in the entire world?
Okay, all of you, be happy. Like I always say, this is a message I repeat again and again, so you can take it from any of the last interviews we've had or chatted. Yeah, please be happy. God bless you. And when you find happiness, hold on to it tight, because that's what life was for. And God bless you all.
It was an absolute pleasure and honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.